We have breaking news out of the Middle East. Reza Pahlavi, the Crown Prince of Iran, just made an extraordinarily important announcement about the future of Iran. Take a look.
The Iranian people have called on me to lead the transition after the regime is gone. I have accepted that responsibility. Part of their great mandate to me is to return our nation and our foreign relations to normalcy. I will do exactly that. My commitment is to ensure the transition is orderly, the country is stabilized, and Iranians determine their future through the ballot box. We will not repeat the mistakes of past transitions. We will avoid de-Baathification scenarios and maintain as many bureaucrats and public servants in transition as possible. Iranians have made their choice at an enormous price. Now I ask our friends in the Arab world to join us, to prepare to recognize and engage our transitional government. We will rebuild our nation not for expansion, but to serve the Iranian people. We will base our diplomatic relations not on exportation of ideology, but on mutual respect and shared interest. We will reintegrate into the regional and global economy to increase prosperity for the citizens of all of our nations. Standing with the Iranian people is not charity. It is a strategic investment in making our region one of the most stable, secure, and prosperous in the world. Together, we can build a Middle East our children will be proud to inherit. Take this new path with us.
Nicole Jansezian, a journalist in Jerusalem, joins us now. So Nicole, my friend, before we even get to what happens next, how much longer is the Iranian regime going to be able to keep putting up a fight? And, people are saying, well, you took out the Ayatollah. When's this regime crumbling? What are you hearing?
Well, it's so interesting to be talking about this on right on the heels of this breaking news, because I feel that in the last couple of days, we've gone from wondering what the capabilities are of the regime to hearing the results of the combined U.S. and Israeli military campaign, to now, even as recently, just today, I was in a briefing with somebody, an expat Iranian who works for advocacy and democracy in Iran, who said that her sources are talking about the coming collapse of the regime, that there are defections and people are leaving the besieged, leaving the IRGC. They're putting down their weapons. They're throwing their phones so that their commanders will assume that they've been killed, and then they are trying to disappear and basically defect. And so what she was calling for was for the international community to start to encourage this, even overseas, even, in other countries, from diplomats and workers in embassies, to encourage more defections, because she said all of this is going to culminate. It becomes a critical mass that could change everything overnight.
Well, obviously, nature abhors a vacuum. And let's say this regime were to collapse. I think the vast majority of Western allies, the vast majority of Persians, it seems like, in the diaspora would be 100% behind the Crown Prince. But I know that there's other factions, trying to vie for power, I guess you could say, in this moment. Who are some of the other players in this transition government? Again, nothing's happened officially yet. The regime's still in power. But what are some other people we should be keeping our eye on, at least?
Right. And also, by the way, I don't know, it appears to be that Reza Pahlavi is the popular choice of the people. It appears to be, but I don't claim to know that as well. Although everybody I've interviewed, and I've interviewed several Iranians and analysts of Iran, are saying that he would be the natural choice. Now, other groups, for instance, there is the MEK, which is the Mujahideen al-Khalq, and I think it's like Mujahideen of the People, and they are an a Marxist Islamic group that some people have said is more like a cult because of the demands that they have of their people, like they demand that the women wear hijab, even though they say that they're against the current regime, but they still have their own sort of Islamist, like a secular Islamist system. In any case, Mariam Rajavi is the head right now of that party. She has also declared herself the head of a transitional government. She did that a couple days ago before Reza Pahlavi. So it's just very interesting. There's also, I've asked many questions. I have to say, Iran is a historic and extremely large and massive nation, 90 plus million people, and I think 17 minority groups, something like that. So I can't say that I have any expertise. So I'm asking the experts, and I have asked several people, what will happen with all these minority groups? For instance, we're hearing about the Kurds being armed to go and to do a ground invasion and to lead an uprising on the ground, which, people are saying that though the Israeli-American bombing campaign has been extremely effective in taking out missiles and missile launchers and intelligence sites and a lot of the infrastructure, an airstrike alone or a series of airstrikes cannot change the regime. So they are depending ultimately on something to happen on the ground. So with the Kurds, so my questions have been, okay, so what if the Kurds then break away and create their own republic? Or what if they become the oppressive regime? Or what about the Azeris? The Azeris, I think, make up a large percentage of the population. I think it's more than 10, less than 20. It's something like that. But what if they do that as well? And many Iranians insist, and again, this is their words, not mine, that Iran is a society that is built on this diversity and that they would stay unified and that none of these groups would rise up, that everybody wants the same end result, which is a democratic government.
It's just a fascinating time to be alive. The idea that the Islamic regime in Tehran, might be soon to be collapsing, and then you think about Hezbollah and Hamas and the Houthis and the militias in Iraq and just all the chaos that has transpired, and the fact that there is a potential, to have Iran become, a source of peace and a Western ally is just, almost unthinkable a few years ago. So the fact that we're here is pretty amazing. But on the other side of that token is what's happening where you are, which is in Israel, in Jerusalem. Have things kind of quieted down, or are you guys still going into the bunkers all the time?
Today, this day that you're interviewing me is the first day in Jerusalem. We have not had a siren. So for us, yes. Now, on the other hand, there are still missile launches from Iran, though not as many, very, very few. And the other thing, though, that has Hezbollah, you mentioned Hezbollah, they jumped in 2 days into the war, and they're sending a lot of drones into northern Israel. And I don't know if that is indicative of the fact that they have no missiles left, because, Israel, they had a war with Israel, for 2 years during the Hamas-Israel war. There was also Hezbollah was involved, but during that time, it could be that they were extremely depleted. Also, the fall of Bashar al-Assad in Syria cut off that Iranian Lebanese or Hezbollah connection. It cut off literally a physical corridor to get weapons and support to Hezbollah in Lebanon. So right now, what has happened is the focus of the war, I think, for Israelis is more about Hezbollah, because that's closer geographically, and it's actually where we are getting more sirens, though it's only affecting right now the north of the country.
Well, Nicole, it is Shabbat in Israel right now, so I'll let you get back to your family. Thank you for your incredible insight, my friend. Shabbat shalom, and God bless.
And thank you very much. Thanks, Raj.